Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me live today on this Saturday morning. I am really glad you could make it. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dr. Faith Okpotor, and I am the creator of a college admissions coaching program called CFF College Fully Funded. In this program, we help serious high school juniors or rising seniors successfully apply, and secure admission with full funding and avoid debt by using our curriculum-based, tried and tested CFF College Fully Funded framework. I have been working in higher education for more than 15 years, and today I am going to talk about how our students ace college admissions and end up with full funding admission offers from selective and non-selective colleges. How our students ace college admissions and end up with full funding admission offers from selective and non-selective colleges. So if any questions come up for you, please put them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them here. And if you're catching the replay later on and you have any questions, please put them in the comments and I'll do my best to come back and answer them. But before we get started, if you're so inclined, please feel free to put in the comments where you're joining us live. All right. Okay, let's get started. If you've joined me in any of the lives earlier this week, you know I talked about some of the frustrations of the college admissions process, the frustrations that families deal with. If you did not come live, you can catch the replay. It is on the live May 2026 lives playlist on the College Fully Funded YouTube page at College Fully Funded. Okay. All right. So because of how problematic the college admissions process is, people have tried different things to deal with some of these frustrations that I talked about. So if you remember, or if you haven't, just to remind a few people, some of the frustrations include the high cost of college, the anxiety connected with college admissions, because families are wondering, if their students are going to be successful from going to college, the confusing process, the conflicting advice, the opaque process, the fact that guidance counselors in most schools are overworked and under-resourced, all of those things, right? So the frustrations abound. Because of that, people have tried different things to deal with these frustrations. And I'm going to try to list some of the major ones, okay? The first one is focus on getting good grades, right? If you get good grades, everything will fall in place, okay? So that's one of the approaches. Another one is some families have paid a lot of money, exorbitant prices, to improve standardized test scores. So whether they're SAT scores or ACT scores, families are paying a lot to make sure that their students would score higher. The belief being higher SAT scores, better admission offers, probably better funding offers, okay? Another thing people have tried is to bank on sports scholarship. And so people spend a lot of money on sports in hopes that their child will get a Division One scholarship to play in the sport. Sometimes, if the child is really talented, they start really early. Sometimes 4 or 5 years old, they're playing club sports. They're playing in the local league. They're traveling. They're paying for coaches, for training, for activities, for camps. Right? All of that adds up over, I don't know, more than 10 to 15 years of a child's life, right? And then another thing people have done is to apply to a ton of outside scholarships, right? If you use any of the programs that schools use, you're probably being exposed to some scholarships. So whether it's, for example, the College Board has the Scholarship Search Service and other such directories, right? Another thing is to do lots and lots of research, right? If we do lots of research, hopefully we'll kind of figure this out and figure out what we're doing, right? And these are just some of the examples of things that families I talk to each week have told me that they're doing, right? Within the larger research on this issue, we've seen some other things crop up in the data. One is that people are giving up and taking on the debt. It's like, you know what? It looks like college debt is a fact of life, so we're just going to do it. Everybody else is doing it. So that's one. And the other is people who don't want to deal with the debt and don't want to deal with these other frustrations are giving up on college altogether. With the conclusion that college is not worth it. And the data shows that more young men are doing this than young women. All right. So the question is, why are these tactics not working? All of these tactics I have mentioned that people are using to deal with the frustrations connected to college admissions, why are they not working? What we're going to do now is to look at each of these tactics one at a time. Okay? All right. So the first one is paying a lot, focusing on getting good grades, right? So the idea that get good grades and everything will fall in place. Now, don't get me wrong. Good grades are important. Good grades, a strong academic record is a foundation, but good grades alone will not do it. Not at all. And I think I will talk about this more in the subsequent live. But just having good grades enough is not gonna do it. All right. So that in and of itself is not a guarantee that you're gonna get into the school of your choice or that you're gonna get funded. The second is paying a lot for SAT and ACT scores. That too is not a guarantee. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some states that you do need high SAT, ACT scores to get funded, right? Some states' scholarship programs are directly linked to your SAT score. So examples that I can think of are Georgia and Florida. Those states have specific cutoff scores for specific amounts of scholarship money and bands of scholarship money. So if you get this much, then you can get this much. If you get this score on SAT with a GPA of this much, then you can get this much money, right? So barring that though, for other schools that can fund you, that are competitive, just because you have a high SAT or ACT score is no guarantee that you are going to get admission with full funding. So that is no guarantee. The third thing is banking on sports scholarships. And like I said before, this is great if the child is really good and they're talented, by all means, spend all of the money that you can developing the talent in that child. However, there is no guarantee that this is going to end up in a college scholarship for a Division I school or whatever that you might desire, because each person is only one injury away from all of that going poof, right? And I'm not trying to be a downer here, but that's just a reality. That's just a fact of life. Every athlete knows that. And you only hope that that injury doesn't come at the inopportune time where it would block what might happen next for that child. Okay. Now, coming to another thing that people have done is applying to tons of scholarships. I recently talked to a parent whose child is an athlete and is expecting an athletic scholarship, but all the same, they also apply to outside scholarships just to make sure and to augment the scholarship money. 150 scholarships. This parent told me that she and her child applied to and didn't even get one. And bear in mind, most of these 150 scholarships are small dollar scholarships. Okay, you have to think to yourself, given the average cost of college, especially if you're going out of state or if you're going to a private school, how many $500 or 1,000 scholarships are you going to cobble together that will cover the total cost of attendance? So the return on investment in terms of effort and time is also not there, right? Doing lots of research. Again, nothing wrong with doing lots of research, but there's no guarantee that doing lots of research without the know-how, without the guidance, without the knowledge, all of that research is not going to mean anything. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do your research. That's always the baseline to start. But that, again, does not solve the problem of some of these frustrations that we've talked about. Okay. The frustrations that we see, the tactics that people have taken from within the larger data on this stuff, the one about taking on the debt, we know that that's not a good idea, right? The U.S. education debt is now upward of $2 trillion with a T, right? That's problematic because what does that do to the economic stability of our society when there's so much debt carried by so many people? And then the giving up college altogether, right? That's not a good idea. And here's why. Now, do not get me wrong, okay? College is not for everybody. And there's some people who want to pursue other things that you don't necessarily need a college degree for. For those people, absolutely, please go on with whatever choice. But for a majority of people, for a lot of people, the data shows that a college education increases the lifetime earnings of a person. And so over a lifetime, the data shows that people who have a college degree have earned way more money, sometimes close to $1 million more than those without a college degree. All right. Now, given all of this, the question is, why are these tactics not working? Right? We've just gone through why they're not working. Now, what should you do then? If these tactics, we figured out what the frustrations are, we figured out the tactics that people have used to kind of approach this, and if we've also figured out that these tactics are not working. If they're not working, then what should you be doing instead? What should people do? Right? And I'm going to tell you that this is counterintuitive. Pare down on doing all the things and focus on the important things. Reduce the amount of energy you're spending on doing all the things, all of these different things that I just outlined, and focus on doing the things that matter. Here's why. Success is not directly proportional to increasing the number of things that you do. I'm going to say that again. Success is not directly proportional to increasing the number of things you do. So do less in terms of all the things and do more of the things that matter. Focus on what matters. Do more of what matters, right? And what is that? Focus on building a strong admission record based on academics and leadership. Focus on getting financial support from the schools that will fund you. I'm going to say that again. Focus on building a strong admission record that is based on your academics and your leadership. And focus on getting financial support from schools, because it's so much easier to apply to a school that will fund you and then you get admitted and you get funded than trying to look for money from a gazillion other places. Now, this is a simple process, right? It's simple to do. It's not necessarily easy. It involves know-how. It involves expertise, but we'll talk more about that. Okay. So having said that, what is this thing, right? How do you get to focusing on the things that matter? How do you get to focusing on these things I've outlined, right? A strong admission record based on academics and leadership, and getting financial support from schools. To do that, our students have been successful using a simplified but highly effective framework designed around what matters. Remember, I said focus on the things that matter. A simplified but highly effective framework designed around what matters, right? Now, I said simplified, so it's simple. It's a simple framework, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy. So what are the components of this simplified framework? A competitive academic record, that's one. Two, memorable essays. 3, complete and accurate financial aid applications. 4, a strong extracurricular and leadership record. And 5, compelling recommendation letters. Right? Now, these are the parts of the framework. In a later live, I will dive more into this framework more specifically. But for now, all of these things, these 5 things I mentioned, they you can't just like throw them like spaghetti on the wall, right? Or you can't just like cook them up into a soup however one wants, right? Um, these have to be packaged in such a way as to present a coherent narrative of an interesting, well rounded human being who is prepared for the rigors of college and will succeed. I'm going to say that again. These have to be packaged in such a way as to present a coherent narrative of an interesting, well rounded human being who is prepared for the rigors of college and will succeed. Right? And like I said, in an upcoming live next week, I will dive more into this framework, right? Like, how do you know you're doing it right? How do you know that you're getting each of these elements right, or when you're getting them wrong, right? I will dive more into that in the later live. But I just wanted to provide you with an outline of this framework today. And I'm going to say the framework again. 1, the framework components: a competitive academic record, memorable essays, complete and accurate financial aid applications, a strong extracurricular and leadership record, and compelling recommendation letters. Right? So if you are interested in learning more about our college, of course, this is what the students, going back to the topic for today's live, like how are students acing it? This is how they're acing it, by using this framework and these elements in the right coherent package. So if you're interested in learning more about our college admissions coaching program, or exploring working together, and seeing how we can also help you or your family or your child secure admission with full funding and avoid debt, we are currently enrolling high school juniors who are going to be rising seniors in a matter of weeks, depending on when the school year ends for you. We're currently enrolling and the spots are filling up fast. The enrollment deadline is May 29th. So if you're interested, please book a call to learn more. There is a link to how to book a call in the description for this live. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a good rest of the weekend and a good holiday weekend. And I hope that you will join me on Monday live. And I know Monday is a holiday, but Monday at 5 p.m., if you are able, after a day of enjoying yourself, please feel free to join me at 5 p.m. And I'm going to be talking about perfect grades and perfect scores will not necessarily result in a full ride. So a continuation of some of the themes from today. Perfect grades and perfect scores will not necessarily result in a full ride. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.